Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving into one of the most intense, most epic stories ever told. We're going to push aside all the cartoons, all the pop culture references, and look directly at the source, Genesis chapter 7, to see what the text actually says happened during the Great Flood.
Right? We all think we know the story of Noah's Ark. But how much of what's in our heads comes from the original text? What are the specific, unfiltered details that are actually in there? Well, that's what we're going to find out today. Let's get right into it.
So, before a single drop of rain falls, the story kicks off with a final, really urgent set of instructions. You can feel the tension building. This is the first act, the final countdown.
And there it is. That's the command that sets everything in motion. And notice, the text gives us the reason right up front. Noah is seen as righteous. This one man in this one generation. That single judgment is the pivot on which the entire fate of the world is about to turn.
Okay, now this is a detail that gets lost in a lot of the simplified kids' versions. It wasn't just 2 of every animal. The text makes this really important distinction. 7 pairs of all the clean animals and birds, but only 1 pair of the unclean animals. You have to wonder why, right? Well, it's pretty crucial. This sets up everything for after the flood, having enough animals for sacrifice and for food without wiping out a species.
So, what's the timeline? How much of a heads up did Noah and his family get before it all went down? Just this. 7 days. I mean, can you imagine that? You have 1 week. 1 week to gather your entire family and every type of animal onto a boat before the world as you know it is completely washed away. The urgency is just, wow.
And here we get the why. The purpose is laid out in these really stark, absolute terms. The goal is to blot out every living thing. The stakes couldn't be higher. This isn't just a bad storm the text is describing. It's an act of total decreation.
Okay, so the warning has been given, the purpose is clear, now the story shifts from the why to the how. The action moves right to the ark itself. So let's look at part 2, all aboard the ark.
You know, for such a huge, cosmic event, the text grounds it with this really personal detail. Noah wasn't a young man when this happened. He was 600 years old. Think about that for a second. 6 centuries of life, all of it leading up to this single world-ending, world-restarting moment.
What's interesting here is that the text doesn't describe a panicked scramble. It's actually a very deliberate, orderly procession. You see the clear order. Noah's family goes in, and then the animals, all coming in exactly as they were commanded. This isn't chaos. It's the careful execution of a rescue plan.
This little phrase right here, it's one of the most powerful in the whole chapter. Think about it. Noah doesn't shut the door. The text is very specific. The Lord shut him in. It's this definitive, divine action. It seals the ark. The time for getting ready is over. This is the point of no return.
And once that door was sealed, everything changed. Which brings us, of course, to the cataclysm itself. Section 3, the deluge begins.
I mean, just look at how specific this is. This isn't some vague, once-upon-a-time fairy tale. The author gives us a precise date, almost like a ship's log or a historical record. In the 600th year of Noah's life, 2nd month, 17th day. Bang! On that day, the world changed forever.
So, where did all this water even come from? According to the text, it wasn't just a ton of rain. It was a cataclysm from 2 directions at once, the fountains of the great deep bursting up from the ground, and the floodgates of the heavens opening up from above. It's this incredible imagery of the world being completely unmade, from below and above.
And here it is, that iconic number, 40. It's echoed through stories for thousands of years. The rain itself just kept coming for 40 days and 40 nights, non-stop. It represents this period of overwhelming, relentless trial. So what happens when you have water coming from the sky and the ground for 40 straight days? Well, you get a world underwater. Let's move on to section 4.
I love the language here. It's so simple, but so immense. The waters prevailed. It's like they won. They completely dominated everything. And in the middle of all of this, the ark is just lifted up. It becomes the only vessel of life, just floating on the surface of a brand new global ocean.
And just in case you were thinking, oh, maybe this was just a big local flood, the text makes it crystal clear. Nope, the claim is absolute. All the high mountains under the whole heaven were completely submerged. There was no high ground to run to,
nowhere to go.
And the text even gives us a measurement to try and make this real for us. It says the water rose 15 cubits above the peaks of the mountains. So, a cubit is an old measurement. It's about 1.5 feet or 18 inches. That means the water was more than 22 feet higher than the summit of the tallest mountains on Earth. That is a picture of total, absolute inundation.
Well, the consequence of a world completely underwater is pretty stark. So let's get to the final accounting of it all in Section 5, Survival and Destruction.
You can see how the text reads like this grim, systematic inventory of loss. It's not just poetic, it's methodical. It lists out every category of life on land and in the air. It's a stark accounting of a complete and total erasure from the planet.
And then you get this summary statement, just a solemn, definitive line. If it lived on dry land and it breathed air, it was gone. The condition is simple, and the outcome is absolutely final.
And then the camera, so to speak, zooms in. After cataloging all that destruction, the focus narrows to this one single point of survival. Only Noah and those with him in the ark. The isolation must have been just profound. They are the only people left on a silent, watery planet.
And there's one last number here that's really important. So the rain fell for 40 days, right? But the waters prevailed over the whole earth for 150 days. That's 5 months. 5 months of the entire world being completely submerged before the water even starts to go down. That is an almost unimaginable amount of time to be waiting and floating.
So when you look at the raw text of Genesis 7, you're left with this really profound question. On one hand, it is an absolutely unsparing account of total judgment and destruction. But on the other, it's the ultimate story of preservation, of a new beginning born from a violent, world-altering reset. So is this a story about an end or a beginning? The text seems to hold both truths at the same time, and it just leaves us with the weight of that question.